So while meditating, at times if suppose an insect, particularly a mosquito, comes and sits on any part of the body,
yes,
then and sometimes one feels that there is some crawling happening. It could be just a sensation or it could actually be an insect crawling. So what is advisable? Should we try to move those insects, or should we just observe? What is advisable?
you can experiment with both. Sometimes it's advisable just to gently brush it away and go back to reset your practice as if you were just starting it again, and use the interruption as a little welcome break, and then just start again. And the other option is, of course, just to simply watch it while it is crawling, and watch the sensation, and not to be afraid of the itch. You can contemplate the itch. If it's itching, then can focus your awareness on the itch and see how the itching actually feels. And it's a bit more difficult if it's a biting ant, which at what village I mean plenty. I've had biting ants crawl on my sabong, which is not such a pleasant feeling. So at some point, we have to, with all these things, we have to know how much is actually, conducive to our peace of mind. And sometimes it can be peaceful just to simply watch the itch, and sometimes very amazing things happen when you have to surrender to some unpleasant feeling. At other times it may just be too much, and you just brush it away gently and start again. If there are many mosquitoes, I would suggest not to brush them away, just to let them eat their blood and contemplate. Sometimes these meditations where there's a lot of disturbances, so to say, turn out to be the best ones, because one develops a sense of surrender. Like one knows pretty much this is not going to go away. This is not going to harm it in many ways by simply watching it and not panicking or not being averse to it. But at times I confess I sometimes brush away mosquitoes, or sometimes change posture. If things get too painful, for example, sitting longer than an hour, sometimes things do get painful. And I honestly can go both ways. I can also sit through it and develop an awareness of the dukkha vedana, and also sometimes there are very amazing things to experience at that period, and it may well be worth it. But other times it is just not really worth the experience. Sometimes it just helps one to get more averse, or be too heroic about it. And the side effects of sitting through painful knees are actually detrimental in the long run. So you can never really define the middle way, but per default you have to see it in time and place, and be honest to how you react to that. For example, sitting through pain, gritting your teeth, and trying to impress by that. Sometimes the practice of the forest monks, we sit through it and try to be tough, and actually we are increasing our sense of self and superiority with it. It would be the more humble practice just to change posture, do a bit of walking meditation, and not be a hero sitter, but keep up the mindfulness with the next step, rather than following through something that actually is not really helpful. So it depends on your inner attitude as well. Sometimes we can also benefit from hindrances and from obstacles, or from, say, unconducive situations like mosquitoes or noise or the cold or so, or the heat. if it leads to a sense of inner surrender, a real surrender where we just give up and just kind of lend ourselves completely to the situations. For example, sweating all over and just thinking, okay, I'm sweating now, it's uncomfortable, it's like I'm dripping, I'm kind of like melting away, but it's maybe a very good opportunity to watch the inner heat, watch how it actually feels, and we would never have that opportunity usually because we go to a cool place, turn on the fan, or do whatever is like the worldly response to it. So we can go both ways, enduring or changing. Yeah.
Yesterday you had mentioned something about exercising for body's fitness not being encouraged. So, can you...
Body fitness.
Yesterday...
That was in the context maybe when talking about like banishing samsara and things like that?
Yes.
Okay, it again depends on our motives. A good sense of fitness and a good sense of exercise and a good sense of like say keeping one's body healthy is fine, but I know from my own my high school days when we were doing club rowing is very, very healthy and it can be very meditative, but there's a competitive element in it. And if we do our sports and our fitness in terms of the self, wanting to impress, wanting to be stronger, wanting to be, say, admired or so, or admiring ourselves with it, then it's not helpful. But if we do it in a relaxed way, in a way of like simply maintaining our strength and doing the right thing and stopping when it gets too much, then I think it's good. It can be very meditative to even go to a fitness studio. That's just, I think, pushing weights. You go butto. You can do that if you like, but the surrounding they're not really meditative. There's lots of people that are into wanting to be the next Incredible Hulk or Schwarzenegger or so, Rambo. So many times the atmosphere is like not very dhammic. It's more, say, advertising various forms of self. So it depends on the spirit in which we do it. Similarly to music, the question was also about music the other day, yesterday. We can truly try to be selfless in creating sounds that are helping other people to relax and generate peace, and do it in a way that is not bound up with us wanting to be impressive or specifically admired for it. But the line is very, very thin. I noticed by myself, and I used to play guitar a lot, and I used to tell myself I'm doing this because it creates harmony and it's like a mission of peace and so forth. But I actually, when I started meditating, I noticed that actually meditation and just simply being quiet is the safer way. I didn't get carried away as much with it as with the music, because there is a romantic and there's a kind of slightly say sensual element in it. Of course, that's why it's art, it's music. It's not just noise or generating sound waves. It's meant as an embellishment. So it depends on our personal middle way. And similarly with many things, we can experiment a little bit and be honest with ourselves. For example, you can also be a very good cook, but if one does it for fun, for pleasure, and for the sake of indulgence, then we should maybe kind of come back to a bit of like fasting, instead of like cooking or like using less salt and pepper and less sugar, and go back to the healthy diet. Similarly to sports and music. the personal middle way is very difficult. Sometimes like it varies over phases of life, and I would say the more you meditate, the less interest in the essential things usually comes along. But it doesn't mean to say, I don't mean to say that there's not a good side with it. Also, the idea to use these things as a Dhamma practice, for example, having a sports, a group environment doing exercise and sports and emphasizing the body awareness with it, and having good friends doing something which is not intrinsically unwholesome, but like can only need to be guarded as towards not lead to infatuation, but like generally it's not unwholesome. It's not against sila, it's not against the, say, kind of good conduct, and then one doesn't do it too much, and cultivates good friendship and harmony with it. That's also some good thing to do. For example, the question about how to reach young people these days, I think sports and music is a way of reaching young people more than sitting still or say philosophical debates or so. I think sometimes in rural Thailand, I encourage school children just to do a lot of sports because they practice fairness and team spirit there. So you can see in many good ways of doing sports where there's less competition than like less emphasis on competition than on harmony and fairness and play and working together. It's much better than leaving the kids on the video games and getting into drugs and sleep deprivation and all kinds of attention deficiency, hyper syndromes, things like that are side effects of when people get left alone. The monastic activities that we do that compare to exercise and compare to arts and craftsmanship, they usually somehow bound up with a certain duty or purpose. For example, we sweep the monastery, which is our exercise, is our sport, somehow a mild form of sports exercise, and or like we chop wood in order to make the dye for our robes. So there's already a lot of sport that we kind of have to do. Like I compare it to my mother. She looks after her house. She walks up and down the staircase. She wouldn't have to go to a fitness studio. So she always emphasizes that she doesn't need to do that kind of cultish thing. She's got enough work to do. So like in that sense, also like arts and crafts, like we do things like sewing our robes and crocheting our bowl covers and things like that, and you can very well tell that this is a meditative exercise when you see the results of a piece of work. For example, a well-sewn robe looks neat, tidy, the stitches are like regular, and you can just tell by the craftsmanship that somebody has put their heart into it and has been mindful while doing it and precise and has had the patience not to rush it, and it didn't do it in a superficial way, but really paid attention to every step that needs to be done. Similarly to crocheting, it's something we sit down and crochet these very tight covers for our bowls, and if one does that with a good meditative mind, then the stitches become very regular, even, and not too tight, not too loose. So it's not quite art. We're not expressing our personal interpretations of life into that, but like we're showing our attitude of life while we're doing these manual jobs. Sometimes you see people working in the monastery, like the workers plastering a wall and painting a door or so, and you can tell that they're not monks, that they're not meditators. Basically, they do a sloppy job. They just splash the paint all over, drip it on the tiles, paint over the white paint besides the door frame, and you just scratch your head and you notice the difference between somebody who practices meditation while working and somebody who doesn't. So these are little skillful ways of applying mindfulness and a sense of craftsmanship towards what we need to do already. It's not like a constructed thing. We're not looking for extra jobs, kind of not making anything just for fun or so. But there's usually a purpose in the things that we do, and we try to combine the necessities with the skills and the dedication of mindfulness in the things that are needed in our daily survival. So. I think the Zen culture is very good in that sense that they develop certain artistic skills in kind of calligraphy or pottery or flower arrangements. In one way, Theravada Buddhism is quite dry. We try to not go towards, say, embellishment of things too much, but we try to go to precision, making things work, avoiding sloppiness, and practicing, say, a sense of surrender to our task, rather than a sense of flourishing in our task. And it's not that idea that we suddenly want to be the most skilled sewer or crocheter or painter, but we more or less want to be able to say this work is done well, finished, next, without any sense of remorse, sense of needing to be corrected or being later known as heedless.
Then I have a question.
Yeah.
We know that different sects have been formed of Buddhism now, and all are aiming at the same thing. Aren't they?
Are they? I'm not sure. In one way or the other, they are. Yet the emphasis is sometimes very, very broad. Say, for example, I do think there's a general difference between aiming at a direct ending of the round of rebirth and through the practice of realizing arahata phala as the ending of any cause of further rebirth. Whereas the Mahayana tradition, they uphold that the qualities of the mind that are needed for teaching people and sowing the seeds of how to overcome suffering. So in the long run, it's more important than having the personal accomplishment in that. I'm not sure whether I'm quoting them correctly, but it's almost like postponing the ending of samsara for the sake of teaching first. So can we that in the vows that Mahayana bhikkhus take on are kind of aiming at staying in this world to help all sentient beings. This wouldn't be a vow that a Theravada bhikkhu takes. In fact, we do vows for ending samsara, Sabbadukani Sarana Vipana Sachikaranathaya Ivanukasawa. like asking for the going forth, for the ending of all dukkha, for nibbana, we take on the yellow robes. This is a determination that we make when we take on the robes, and there's no vow to help all sentient beings in our tradition. It's something that naturally comes up, that we look for like-minded people, companions, and help to kind of out of spontaneous compassion and loving kindness. So, but it's not the ethos of our quest for liberation. That we can only be liberated with all other people are liberated. In fact, it's quite contrary to the original Pali Suttas. There's no such mentioning of such a quest. Even I would say the quest of becoming a Sammasambuddha, like a quest, the quest that goes beyond the average Arahata path of the Arahant, who is by his efforts able to end samsara to the practice in this life, in whatever life he needs, whatever time he needs for that. But the practice of becoming a Sammasambuddha is more or less the idea of becoming perfect in all the qualities needed. As the beauty of a Buddha is such that it's an all-round teacher, somebody who is able to completely teach and declare the Dhamma. So the qualities needed for Sammasambuddha are much more than an Arahant. An Arahant is somebody who more or less works with whatever skills and paramitas he has or he or she has in order to end samsara for himself, whereas the Sammasambuddha is able to have the perfections of a Buddha, which is somebody who's able to communicate the teachings and to have all the special powers needed for some Buddha to have that almost perfect knowledge. Whereas the Arahant doesn't have, for example, doesn't need to have abhinyas, higher knowledges, and only needed to have the capacity to end suffering. Yeah.
Sometimes we
only
Hello. Sometimes we do anapana and mind get concentrated and peaceful.
Yeah.
After some time, when mind get disturbed, then we get a lot of hesitation and all. So,
what to do then? Learn from it. But it's good if the defilements, anger, irritation come up again. Then we know how they feel. We use the power of the peaceful mind to see it very clearly. If this anger and peacefulness, the anger and the irritation would have come up while you're sitting in a metro, you wouldn't have realized. It becomes very clear after having meditated. It's almost like you get reborn into the world. When you open your eyes, you kind of suddenly experience, this, and tiny little bits of dirt get very visible on a white floor. And so in a peaceful mind, and suddenly little things that are irritating, they come up and we are able to look at those. Whereas generally we wouldn't even see those. Who would care about the mosquito biting him, or the sound of a mosquito irritating him in a normal, say, open air party in a garden or so? You just wouldn't bother. And whereas the dukkha of even a single mosquito, in unsatisfaction, the disturbance of our equilibrium, of our peace, so it becomes very obvious. We've had a very thorough meditation of being kind of
subdued and still and so forth. So we can learn from it. We can see, oh yeah, and then you can even see the impact of just having to open your eyes again. Of course you have to, but you can see this is samsara. If I could stay in this peaceful state forever, that would be great. But you can't. You have to open up your eyes and integrate all these experiences bit by bit. So, I say, irritations coming up after meditation are actually welcome. They teach us something, and hopefully we have the skills and the power to deal with them and see them to what they are. We see them, they have arisen, and they will also pass away again. They're not absolute, they're possibly just particularly disturbing because we're just looking at them in a very strong way. We can learn from it and investigate it. If there's anger coming up, then investigate it. After meditation, it's easier to investigate the anger because more or less you can single it out. Otherwise, it would be in the mixed curry that you eat every day, and then you wouldn't even taste it. Possibly do unskillful things without knowing it. So if you had made a clear slate first, and actually go, oh, I'm angry. Oh, actually I'm thinking of my girlfriend. Oh, actually I want to have a pizza. No need. Actually I want to buy something. Actually no need. So can see it with a more distant sense of analysis and observation.
Okay. So peace helps to see the defilement.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why we're practicing peace. We're actually getting beyond the defilements if we can disarm them through letting go of the causes of defilements. Whereas when we meditate in order to be peaceful, sometimes the meditation that comes from the concentrated mind, also it's just like a temporary holiday from the defilements. They come back, and then after the holiday from the defilements, we have to do the work and understanding how they arise. What are the causes and conditions? Where is our love and affection, our desire rooted in, or where is our aversion rooted in? And hopefully we can use the clarity from having had a break to coming back to it in a neutral way and seeing it like chunk by chunk rather than all mixed up like it usually would be when we're in daily life situations. So we use the peace of mind in order to get more clarity, so we can work on the abandoning of the causes that cause us to suffer. But there's, so to say, two ways of peace. One is the peace of having let go of defilements and having overcome love, hate, aversion, and having seen through the process and more or less disarmed it by taking away the cause of it. And this is like the peace of an attainment through liberating oneself from the defilements. It comes as a function of the product of wisdom, of insight into how these things work, and abandoning the causes. Whereas the piece of concentration, where we just focus and try to more or less not bother about the problems that are waiting or so, is a temporary relief, is a skillful way of gaining more clarity, more energy, because one isn't always challenged by things. It's like taking a deep in-breath before giving an answer. So it's like take time and take yourself out of the situation for a moment, and then you come back and you still have your problems waiting for you. So the real peace is the peace of problem solving, of a solved problem, and then the other one is asking for a few minutes before you have to give the answer. It's just wait a moment, yeah. Let me sleep over that. Let me meditate over that. Okay, it's 5 o'clock, time for a little break. I recommend everybody pick a far-standing calendar, picture of the Sangha all over the world, plus the lunar observance days marked especially with full moon, half moon, and new moon signs. You can make a special note of keeping the precepts and then doing some special effort in meditation on those things.